morning, good day, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching. You are on Give It to the People Live. I am Chisa Pennix-Brown, and today I get the lovely experience to interview somebody that is full of energy, that's a little bit nervous, but it's okay because we're going to get through that really quickly. And this is the first person I think that I've brought on the show that was all about the money. Are you all about the money?
I am.
He is all about the money.
Yeah.
So, Chad, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Chad Collins. My company is Chad Collins and Associates, Inc. We are a boutique accounting firm located in Greensboro, North Carolina.
Yes. Now, we met because I've been teaching for GTCC Small Business Center for years, and then Chad started teaching for years. Now, let me just tell him a story he doesn't know. I got mad at Chad when he first got here, but he doesn't even know this, right? But let me tell you why. Because Mark said to me, he was like, hey, would you mind giving somebody the such and such classes because we got an accountant that's coming on? And I was like, hell no, I don't even know this person. And I was like, no, I don't want to give up any of my classes. I was like, first of all, let me meet who this person is, and then we'll see what goes on. But no, you have brought a whole different twist to, I think, what's going on with GTCC. And I tell people all the time, I am not an accountant. I am not a lawyer, right? So I tell them, I know what I'm good at. Go to the people that are good at this thing. And I think it takes a whole different side of the brain to be an accountant and to be able to make sure that everybody's numbers add up like they're supposed to. So what are you doing for GTCC? Give us a little bit with that.
So I teach a class called Year-End Taxes, helping business owners get ready and prepared, things to think about, deductions, talking about their different structures that they have, as well as making sure that they are prepared for the tax season that's coming up.
Okay, but you also do some other classes too, right, that were, in my opinion, really needed, that I really would love to go to. I'm just not interested in hiring anybody as an employee yet, because I feel like stay away from that as long as you possibly can, because you have to pay a salary, insurance, and then of course those taxes that come along with it. But tell us about the classes that you teach that are for people who are ready to hire employees.
So we also do a class called Is Your Employee Really an Independent Contractor? And that is a crucial distinction, one from the Department of Labor, also as well as the North Carolina Department of Revenue and the Internal Revenue Service. And they each have tests that you must meet. And it's a very punitive system if you get it wrong.
Mm-hmm. So people could say, well, look, yeah, you treated me as a contractor, but basically I was really an employee. Come back and then file against you, and then now you're in a world of trouble.
Correct.
Because you didn't follow the rules.
Right. So you can end up paying back taxes. So those independent contractor payments end up becoming salary. If you owed benefits, those are now entitled to those folks, as well as overtime. And they all tie in together to also have penalties and interest.
Yeah. So please go to his class. So you have some new classes that are coming up next year, but there may be somebody that says, I like what you're saying today, just in general. I need an accountant. So can you tell them what your boutique firm covers? So if I'm like, look, I'm looking for somebody to do this, let us know what you do.
So the primary thing that we do, we're a tax firm. So we do all things taxes, tax planning, tax preparation, tax resolution. You got one of those, as one of my clients calls, hate mail from the Internal Revenue Service. So they're
it is hate mail.
It is, right? So she says that, she calls it that, but really that is the thing we call tax resolution, or we all know it as being, we've been audited. So I do those as well. Okay. That's our first big bucket that we do. The second bucket that we do is bookkeeping and payroll. So we offer those services for our clients. And then the third is what I call business advisory services. Okay. Love startups, entrepreneurs, freelancers, the gig economy, however you want to call it. That's one of our areas that we really service, because without those folks and without the good things that you all are doing, we don't have an economy. Really.
No, because people like to act like big business runs it, but there are so many people that are, first of all, starting small businesses on a daily basis. There are small businesses that are, everybody doesn't have to be a millionaire, but they're still being able to help boost the economy because they're hiring employees or contractors to work with them. And it's way more of them than it is of the big companies, right? So when you start to look at that, if there's any trends that you're seeing, what's happening? What do you feel like people are going to do a little bit more of? Do you feel like they're going to be a little bit more diligent in 2020? What are you seeing with some of the business owners that you work with?
You know, the biggest struggle, if you want to call it, that I see that folks face is cash flow. right?
Yes.
So how do we project those cash flows? What's the difference between I run a profit and loss for my accounting software and it says, hey, I made $20,000 in Q1, but I have $12 in my bank account. What happened to that money?
Where did it go?
Yeah. So helping folks to understand the cash flow conundrum is what I call it. But more importantly, helping those business owners facing that what we call the cash flow gap, when money comes in versus when money's going out. We want to minimize that gap, but helping them predict their cash flows. But I think the other thing is with really the most significant change in my adult life of 2017 tax law is having folks realizing that taxes matter to their business. The more you pay in taxes, the less you've got to take home for yourself or to grow your business. So those are the two biggest things. But people are becoming more aware because I teach my folks to fish. I feed them, but I also teach them to fish. So then that way they can be empowered, because my goal is to always empower the folks that I work with.
Yeah, and I think it does make a difference when you see, and we are small business owners, and you see Amazon making $1 billion and they're not paying any taxes.
Right.
Or you see that you have a president that's just like, I'm not releasing my taxes. I mean, I just think that it's like, what are these big companies doing? And they have somebody that's working on their side. So why shouldn't you as a small company have somebody working on your side to be able to help you have, less liability, to be able to keep that money inside of your household or inside of your business, because there's a way to do everything, right?
Yes, there is.
Now, I have a specific question because for my people who are just starting, like I may have a lot of people that come to the classes, and I always tell them that this is a part of your business cost because you're doing things in the realm of business for your business, right? So I tell them when you come to the first class, you are in business right now. Not that I'm thinking about, I'm kind of maybe possibly, but you are in business right now. So can a person go, let's say, a little bit backwards if they feel like, let's say they did stuff in 2019, right? But they're not officially started in their mind until like 2020, right? What is some of the things that they can maybe go back and kind of claim? Because, and I'm just saying it from like a legal standpoint of maybe they don't go ahead and get their LLC until January, but they started doing stuff this year for their business. Is there stuff that they can then, write off that they would be able to put into the next year's taxes?
Yes. So for example, startup costs is what we call those. So you started in 2019, you opened your business as a sole proprietor. Well, 2020, January 3, you're going to say, I want to go ahead and get my LLC set up. In 2020, because most of us are and taxes are cash basis, meaning that when we pay it, it's when we claim it. So if you get that LLC set up, any legal costs, accounting costs, anything that's associated with that, we can claim. If it's greater than $5,000, anything above that, we have to depreciate over 15 years. But that first $5,000 we can expense in the year that we do it.
Oh, okay. And see, I knew that there was something in there, but it was just kind of one of those things. Now, one other thing that I think, because I just want to give people like some little tips and stuff like that. I always tell people that it's better for them to take the mileage than it is the gas.
Correct.
So can you explain just that little concept to people? Because, everybody's like, oh, well, gas was $50, $60 to fill up, but you use so many more miles than you ever do the gas.
Correct. So as quickly as possible, there's 4 criteria for mileage that you need to do. Beginning odometer, ending odometer, where you went, and what you did. So for example, I drove here today, so my beginning and ending odometer, I would put podcast for the people as the reason, and then I would say Chiefs of Pennix-Brown is who I met with. So that would be my mileage. Now, folks say, well, I've got gas, I've got depreciation for my car, I've got oil changes, all those things you can do. But guess what you still got to do? You still got to get there. You still got to track the mileage.
And back and forth,
Right. Because the IRS is not going to say, well, Chisa says that she uses her car for 75% of the business. We need an objective measure. Well, that mileage log is that objective measure. So we still got to do it. But yes, you're correct. For 2018, it's 58.5 cents. 2019, it's 59 cents a mile.
59 cents.
Yeah. So you've got that much mileage that you get to deduct for this year. And so if you drive 100 miles, you're roughly getting $50. So that gas is already taken into, but the mileage also takes into account the depreciation and all that. So you're correct. 90% or greater you're going to get a much better benefit from
Yeah,
mileage.
it just makes sense. So, and I know that there are so many different things that people could do to make it easier when they come to you. So I need to know that, because if you said, okay, well, look, I'm interested in getting some clients, and I just told you what I did. We have these 3 different buckets that we focus on, right? So if a person, because I think bookkeeping seems to be like one of the biggest issues, but they're just like, I just want somebody to do my taxes. And so they're maybe not looking at the fact that that's, you pay them, you know, if you're going to do the estimated taxes, doing those quarterly, but what do they need to be a great client for you?
Okay. So my motto has always been good bookkeeping drives the tax return. If you're a business owner, right? If you're an individual, you just need to collect all of your documents that come in. I send out an income tax organizer for both the business clients and the individual that walks you through step by step, question and answer, but also the documents you need to collect for me.
Okay.
That's the first thing. But really, if you're a business owner, good bookkeeping drives a business. Now, you can do that bookkeeping in a software like QuickBooks. You can use a spreadsheet. You can take a box of receipts. Now, I don't encourage you to bring a box of receipts.
That's me.
To your accountant.
It's horrible, but that's me.
But if you do, what we're going to do
Could
is
you at least organize the receipts, though?
Organize
like this
receipts.
Is all of January,
Right.
February, March.
Right.
That's
Yes.
I'm that person.
Because at the end of the day, if you're going to have your receipts and you're going to organize them at the end of the year, we just, as tax preparers, only need the grand total.
Okay.
By category.
But you do suggest us to keep our receipts.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we got to
That is
keep
a
the
requirement.
receipts.
Gotta
Because you
keep
can't
those
just be
receipts.
like, this is how much I spent. Here's the total. Like, we
Right.
need to know where that money, came from, went to. Okay, all right.
So the biggest thing is keeping all those documents together, but I don't need the receipts unless you just have not got them already organized, and we can do that for you. Yes, we encourage you to do it just simply because you're cheaper than we are, necessarily if it's the end of the year. Now, if we're doing it for you throughout the year, because we offer a variety of ways we help our clients. Some we just meet quarterly. We look at stuff, we enter it for them, and we move on. We try to meet our folks where they are. That's the biggest thing that we do.
Would you suggest that we scan in documents and then have them also electronically as opposed to just having them? Because what I've noticed over the years is receipts, they dissolve, right? Like, so the text that was on there can all of a sudden be gone, and then you can't technically really fully account for it if you can't see what you actually purchased.
Correct.
So would you say that we could do that same thing to make it easy for you as well?
Yes, electronically, because we use a service called Secure File Pro. There are many different varieties of it out there, but basically it's a document exchange and it's secured. So then that way it's sensitive data is transmitted securely, and it helps us to keep you organized as well as us.
Okay, because I just like to give people things that'll make it easier for them to operate. And if you just sit down once a month and you kind of do those things, then you know what you spent. What are some of the things that you would say, you can't write that off, stop playing? Because I always tell people I would love to be able to write off my nails, because I think that it's like one of those things where how you know what you feel like you need for you to be professional and for you to have this business thing. If I could write off get my hair done, if I could write off my fingernail, because if you're on television and they see your fingers, that is a part of the appearance, which to me is a part of the uniform, if that makes sense, right? So I would love to be able to write that off, but I know that that's not like, no, ma'am, that's not what we're doing. So what are some of the things that people come to you that are a little bit cray-cray, right?
Yep.
And they might want to write off, but it's like, you can't write that off.
Right. So some of the myths out there, ironically, you talking about it, I don't think I could have paid you to set me up because you did a great job. So I got a call. I can use an example. I got a call from a client, fired up, mad at me. Chad, why hadn't you been telling me I could take my haircuts and my suits off on my taxes? Well, you can. Chad, that's not right. My barber's been telling me for years that I can take my haircuts and my suits off. And I said, well, Scott, why are you taking tax advice from your barber? So you cannot take off haircuts, clothes. Now, let's say, for instance, you get your logo put on it, embossed.
Okay. So now you know what? Because I need to ask that specifically. So you know how a lot of people will get it screen printed? That you could write off?
If it has your logo.
Your logo.
Because it's now become a uniform. Because the Internal Revenue Service says, well, that suit or that dress can be worn anywhere.
Yes.
But if I've got a logo, It's specific. I'm promoting my business.
Now, does this logo have to be like top right or left chest, right? It just needs to be on the actual item.
Correct.
So let's now, I got to finagle the system, right?
Of course.
So let's say I have, because I like to have words and stuff on my shirts, right? And so if that's the case, and let's say I had, which I actually do, I have like a Give It to the People shirt. We have the Pod Biz shirts. Those would be things that you could write off. Now, because those are they're big. They actually take up the whole front of the shirt.
Because you're promoting the things that you're doing.
Now, what if it said, something that was one of the things that still went along with the show or whatever like that, but I still had it, but it was small. As long as the logo was on it.
As long as it's on there, then it constitutes uniforms.
Okay, which means we could, and I'm just giving y'all this because we got to give y'all all the tea, right? It could go on the arm.
On the arm.
Okay, it could go like at the bottom of the shirt, but it could go up at the top. But I mean, as long as it's there and it's in a visible place.
It needs to be what we would consider prominent. Now, if it's prominent down here and I can see it, because Polo puts their little horse down here sometimes on their t-shirts.
Yeah.
It's not, so yes, that would suffice, but really it's something what you would think of as a uniform. Most of the uniforms are going to be left, right, shoulder, something. But technically,
or the back. I've seen people do them on the back too.
But you can put it really anywhere as long as it's prominent.
Okay.
Prominent can be up to interpretation.
That's what I was getting ready to say, because think about it like this: if I did put it at the bottom of my shirt, but then I tucked my shirt in and you couldn't see it, that is not prominent.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not prominent, but yes, that's a gray area. But as long as it's on the shirt, even though you tuck it in, it still qualifies.
Okay, because I needed to ask all of that stuff, because I know that there's somebody out there, and I think that the average business owner probably gets it, and it is prominent.
Yeah.
But just to kind of go along with the theme and how people can do things, and I think it's important that people kind of ask these questions. So we're going to transition, because people will be able to ask you questions, because you're going to be doing a presentation at the 11th Annual Small Business Summit, and you're going to be Mr. Official, like Ask an Accountant, where people can talk to you and ask you questions. So hopefully I've asked some of the things that people wanted to, but what do you, if the people come up, they get 10 minutes to talk to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So how many questions do you think somebody could really ask and you answer effectively in 10 minutes? And I'm just kind of setting people up, because then this way they won't come with something that's too complex where they can't get it answered in 10 minutes. And you are doing the this counseling when we do the Ask an Accountant portion at the thing, because we're having a mentor portion at the Small Business Summit, that is for free. But if you see that somebody's needs go to where they need to become a client, then you can always advise them that, this is more of a client issue, not just something that I can talk about for free. Because I see people that try to milk the system all the time.
Sure. I think that, if you're coming in and saying, how should I be organized? That's beyond the 10 minutes.
Okay.
That's multiple questions back and forth. That's a conversation. But if you came up and said, what are some things, all right, I'm a photographer. Give me the top 3 things that I can be doing to improve my tax situation.
That's excellent. Okay.
Just something that I can go boom, boom, boom.
Yep.
Kind of a generic question. So think about that. Something that would be universal, or really, if it's specific to your situation, but that we can get it done in 10 minutes.
Okay.
So either one big question that we could probably be inconsistent, like that question, I'm a photographer.
Because you might have to ask more questions within that question to really be able to give a clear, articulate answer. Because, sometimes when people ask me questions, I'm just like, and I tell people, your question is so many things. So I got to answer it based on how you told me, or how you asked the question, and then kind of frame it for people. And then sometimes people ask questions that are not clear.
Correct.
So you have to interpret what you think they mean to.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And so, think about if you were in line at the grocery store and you're checking out and you saw someone that was, let's say, a painter, and you had 10 minutes to ask them a quick question.
Okay.
Let that be your guiding light.
Okay.
So
I like that.
I'm checking out. I got 5 minutes or so to talk to somebody in a line. Then I can get that question answered. Okay.
And that makes sense, because I just want people to really set their expectations. Like, this is free. This is something that where, people are volunteering their time to do. And so you have to take into consideration that everything that you want cannot be fulfilled in one day, and definitely not in 10 minutes. But we want to be able to maximize what the value of the mentors are bringing to you. But you need to just make sure that you ask a good question. Like, it wouldn't make sense for you to just say, like, let's just say, because we're going to have Elon Law Clinic there. Well, what's intellectual property? Like, that's such a question where you just be like, okay, this is what it means, but is that really going to be able to help you get the answer that you need. Whereas when you may want to say something to them like, okay, well, I'm thinking about trademarking my business. So what do I need to do?
Right.
And then they can kind of give you some steps, like you said, and then, take it further. Now, the other thing is people may need to become clients, right?
Correct.
Because of whatever their needs are. So what are some of the steps that a person takes to become a client?
So, for example, again, we're primarily a tax-based firm. So, folks say, well, what documents would I need to get ready?
Mm-hmm.
We always ask for the last 2 years of tax returns because that gives us a broad view, but it also allows us to know, were there any suspended losses that we need to carry forward? Do we need to go back and try to recoup some of that income if you're a business owner that we can take if we had a loss this year? So that's a little bit deeper than what you asked, but basically that's a big deal. We need to know
2 years of tax returns.
2 years of tax returns. If you have an accounting system, we need to have a profit and loss or a trial balance or a balance sheet and a profit and loss.
Okay.
The trial balance is a merger of both the balance sheet and the profit and loss.
Okay.
A little bit of teaching you about accounting. And then the final thing would be any of the tax documents that you've received. So that organizer that I sent.
So if the IRS mailed you anything?
Any letters like that. But if you got, your W-2, if you got a 1099 miscellaneous, if you got a mortgage statement, any of those things that come in. But our organizer really is your guiding light on how to get those answers.
Yeah, because I think that sometimes, to me, it is easier when you have some type of intake process as the business owner.
Correct.
Because people will question you and FAQ you and FYI you to death, and it's just like, this is what we need. This will make things simpler. Turn this stuff in, and then we can go forth and, as I say, multiply, right?
Correct.
Because we need you to do this. We can't do our job until you give us these particular things, and then we have a clear picture of where you're at now and then what we can do to help you. So one question that I think people might ask, and I don't know if they've asked you this before. So you're doing the accounting. The accounting tells me where I'm at now. Do you do anything also to help a person that says, well, I want to buy another business, or I want to grow, I want to, add on such and such, or maybe I want to add on an employee, where it kind of gives them any financial guidance? Because you're not a financial advisor like that. That's not your thing. But
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, when you say, okay, well, I'm a financial advisor. It's a person that could be a financial advisor, but not an accountant.
So interestingly enough that you should say that, because we do personal as well as business counseling in the realm of financial planning and financial advising, because you can't help but do it.
And that's what I was thinking. That's why I'm like, if a person that says, well, I want to do this, I always think of Susie Orman, honey. I love me a good Susie Orman when she tells you can't afford that. It's just like, damn it, Susie, I wanted it. And it's just like, you can't afford that. And you have people that listen to advice and that don't. So I would think it would be a natural progression for you to say, well, this is where you're at now. What do you want to do with that? But you don't do like any investment type things? No,
we usually do some retirement planning.
Okay.
And the other thing that I think is a big piece of what we do under that business advisory, bucket, that third bucket that I was talking about, is that we do help do pro forma financials, so that if a person needs to go get a bank loan because they do want to buy that asset, or they want to grow a division, or they need to think about the things that they're doing, we do help with cash flow projections. But another thing that we do that is a crucial piece. Let's say, for instance, you want to buy a business. We help you do that due diligence, the financial, and that we connect you with a business attorney if you need that. We also connect you with financing options, so then that way we connect you with folks like yourself who can help folks with the marketing, doing the things that they do, because the cadre of people that I have, the connections with and relationships with, I know, like, and trust, and I want to promote them. But I also want to make sure that I'm connecting the right people with the right resources. Yeah,
and that they're going to get value out of it too, because some people just throw you to the wolves and be like, oh, check on them, and it's just like, but are they a reputable business? Do you really know them? And so it makes it better when you feel more comfortable, recommending somebody to something, especially if it's something that you don't do, but that you have that arsenal of people that do that thing.
Correct.
So, okay, I love that. All right, so tell them where they can find you online.
You can go to www.chadmcollins.com is my website. You can call me at 336-681-7544, or you can email me at chad@chadmcollins.com.
Okay, well, I love it. Thank you so much today.
Thank you.
Because I think in this short amount of time, we were able to give a lot of valuable information. And then just one more thing, too. So you do some free counseling for GTCC Small Business Center.
Yes.
And they would need to go to sbc.gtcc.edu, request the counseling, and then, if you feel like you need something that's a little bit more in depth. And that is some free counseling. But again, if your issue is larger than what is covered in some of the free things, you need to become a client. And, this is one of those things where we got to get everything together. 2020 is the year of clarity. And having all of the money stuff together, it makes your life easier. You can go places, you can do things. So let's get our money together in 2020. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for watching. If you're listening on the podcast, then you know that you always need to show up and show out and continue to give it to the people. Bye, guys.
Awesome.
See how easy that was?
That was great.
Okay, then I can stop it, and then I can download it, and then Robert will be able to